Hello and welcome to the UFOcast Does Captain Scarlet. This week it's episode 6, Operation Time. Now this is another memorable episode and I recall really enjoying this one from when I first saw it and on subsequent watches. Does it hold up? Yeah, I think it does. And it's funny because last week I was somewhat critical of the lack of action in Manhunt. And this one is sort of the same in that there's very little actually happens. But I think the difference here is the tension. And certainly I have very, very vivid memories of watching this the first time round and the tension being cranked up both times the operation is done. Even the first time before Dr. Magnus becomes a Mistron, so he's doing something good. But the combination of the way it's shot, the music, the sound effects of the sort of that breathing machine makes what's going on really quite creepy. Even as I say, the first time around, it's actually doing an operation that is fixing this guy's brain. And the opening of the episode in particular, the sort of patient's eye view being wheeled along the hospital, and you're like, what is going on? And just that use of Barry Gray's creepy score really, really heightens the tension throughout this episode. And the bit of action that we do have, the car chase, we've seen this a number of times now. The Mistrons like to kill people in their cars in order to turn them into Mistrons, and this is no different. But the chase with Captain Black is particularly suspenseful to get Dr. Magnus into that position of being a Mistron agent. Good to see all the Spectrum agents again. Oka basically is like, right, you're off to Moscow, and then we don't see anything of him for the rest of the episode. Captain Grey gets a little bit to do, though I don't quite understand why Captain Grey is like, no, I'll go alone. Like, why? I mean, surely both of you. Anyway, that's a minor criticism of the ending, I think. And Captain Magenta with his eager personality, that's his trait, isn't it? Is the one that solves the mystery of who the Mistrons are after. Because Spectrum don't figure out what's going on till most of the way through the episode. And I suppose there's an interesting question there of the Mistrons speaking English. Hey, we're playing this game, and we basically we're going to kill someone whose name means time. Well, there's also the question of like, how do the Mistrons know Earth languages? Or maybe we could put that down as new Mistron powers. I guess it's another of those just general conventions of things that people speak English in science fiction programs unless otherwise required, and aliens also speak English. But I remember thinking that was quite clever as a kid. I suspect, I don't know, if you're an adult when you watch this for the first time, because it is very obvious. It's like, ooh, we're going to zoom in. We're going to zoom in on his signature just to be like, his name's Tiempo. This is significant. His name's Tiempo. This is significant. But I think, watching as a kid, it was like, oh, that's quite clever. And then we have the climax of the episode, which will go on to be more significant in Spectrum Strikes Back and future stories that use the Mistron gun and the Mistron detector. But it's funny that last week Captain Scarlet shot a Mistron agent at point blank range, and as far as we know, that killed him. And this week they're like, ooh, the Achilles heel of Mistrons is the fact that they are susceptible to high voltage electricity. And we'll go on to see like lots of other instances of Mistrons being killed in other ways. I guess I'm being critical of this episode in light of what comes later in the series and the inconsistencies that are there. But I suppose on its own terms, it works as an episode, I suppose. And the whole like impervious to X-rays thing, it's genuinely quite creepy the way that they kind of build that up with initially it looks like a normal X-ray, and then there's the hole there, and then it's like his whole hand, which from a technical point of view again doesn't really make much sense, but it's a creepy series of images, which I think is quite effective. And as I say, the score, Barry Gray's score, really does help to create the atmosphere of what we know as Captain Scarlet. Overall, I've always enjoyed this episode. I very much enjoyed it this time around. I think it's a good one. And now it's time for this week's Spectrum Agent Report from Maynard in Australia.
It's Captain Aubergine, Maynard here. Operation Time. In this episode, of course, we've got Dr. Fawn again, wonderfully played by the Australian Charles Bud Tingwell, who was born in the Sydney seaside suburb of Coogee and flew during the Second World War in the Mediterranean theatre, doing reconnaissance flights in Spitfires, Hurricanes, Mosquitoes. And because the Mysterons just love giving the game away, they inform everybody that they're going to kill time, which confounds everybody. They even get the Spectrum computer onto it. And of course, they just put in time as the search word. It's a bit like putting in water. Oh, we got a lot of results for that. In fact, they got 14 microfiles of it. That much. I wonder if you can fit that on USB. So the Mysterons are going to kill time, hey? Could mean a lot of things. They could play some experimental jazz.
The girl from Ipanema.
Read that copy of The Wasteland that's been lying around the house.
What is this book about?
Or really get stuck in and fix that kitchen drawer that doesn't close properly. Although I guess if they're Mysterons, they could just destroy it and then it'd rebuild itself, but that drawer probably wouldn't close properly either.
Oh.
The opening shot is a very, very surreal camera moving across the ceiling of an operating theatre. And there are some very scary medical-looking instruments. Some kids might not enjoy this. That's where we're introduced to the cerebral pulsator. In this opening surgery shot, there's a rare shot of obvious supermarionation strings on Dr. Magnus. I'm just having a quick look at Captain Black there too. He could really use a good night's sleep. So they've got this whole thing about time. So what does that mean? Is it something to do with Dave Brubeck? Is it Prince's backing band? Is it the song from Dirty Dancing? They just don't know. And in this, there's a great close-up on Captain Blue. Impeccably designed and made. Sylvia Anderson did a really good attention to detail when she designed that. What Spectrum does is they assign their best agents to strategic locations. Captain Blue's going to New York. Captain Grey's going to Rio de Janeiro. You hear him go, woohoo, and you heard that. Captain Ochre is going to Moscow. And Captain Scarlet going to London. I guess Captain Razzmatazz got sent to Western Supermare. You never know, the Mysterons might go there in their downtime. Then we see Dr. Magnus leaving the hospital. He's wearing the neurosurgeon casual look there with a strong accent on the cravat. Goes to see the General. Pause and have a good look at that consent form that the General signs. That is an actual consent form by the look of it. Done a bit of Captain Scarlet research here. I'm just reading off the screen now, and the operation is for looks like a stereotatic of the thalamus. Look, I didn't have the 3 days to go to the neurosurgeon school, I'm sorry, but I read it up on it, and it is an operation that you do with the patient being awake under a local anaesthetic, usually takes between 2 and 3 hours, is not often performed now, because ultrasound can do the work of actually going in there, removing parts of the thalamus itself. So this is based in a bit of reality. Someone in the Jerry Anderson studios there knew their neurosurgery. Captain Black in the orange turtleneck follows Dr. Magnus after he's had the consent form signed. I'm sure many Americans have done this. They're loitering at the red light. The person behind them just wants them to move in a hurry, so gets out a gun and takes a shot at them. But this whole chase scene, it really builds suspense, shows supermarionation at its best. Those trees, they're great. And the close-ups on the two drivers, Captain Black and Dr. Magnus, really builds the suspense. Oh, if only the doctor had some form of communication that was mobile in his car. Oh, no. Captain Black shot out his tyre and he's gone for a big crash. Oh, they've Mysteroned him. And Captain Black comes up behind the Mysteroned doctor and gives him his order to kill time. The Spectrum are really up against it here. We've got an ethereal enemy. Basically, they just put their googly eyes on something and they can make a copy of it if it's just died, which is why there's a grisly murder in every episode for the children. We cut to Cloud Base where Colonel White's having a contemplative moment looking out the window, only to be interrupted by Captain Magenta, who maybe has had a bit too much coffee.
He came to me in a flash.
There's a WTF moment from Colonel White. You don't get that every day.
Colonel White, I've got it.
What the?
Captain Magenta probably has been into the Mysteron champagne there by the sound of it, but he's right. Tiempo is Spanish for time. And now Spectrum know what the jig is, and they're onto it. So Captain Magenta, the hero of the show. So Spectrum moved the operation to Cloud Base. Dr. Magnus starts behaving in a way you don't want your neurosurgeon to behave before or during an operation. He turns into Dr. Shirty.
Let's get on with it.
And Dr. Sweating Bullets.
Set the voltage for 1.7. But, Doctor, that's far too high.
And he gets his hand in front of the X-ray machine when they're taking one of the photos of the patient. And then he wants to set the cerebral pulsator to, I think, the let it rip setting was the one he wanted to set it, which doesn't make anyone suspicious whatsoever. You sure you should do that? No. Setting 127 million, that's just fine.
I'll thank you, Doctor, to remember I'm performing this operation.
It's not like I'm working for the enemy or anything. But then in the radiographer lab, the bare bones photo of the X-ray of Dr. Magnus's hand has turned into a full photo of his hand, skin and all. Well, that's just not right. Meanwhile, Dr. Magnus turns up the cerebral pulsator to the Ozzy Osbourne frequency. Meanwhile, the radiographer tries to get past Captain Magenta, who, by the way, his gun matches his outfit. Does Captain Scarlet's gun match his outfit? Because Captain Magenta has got a chip on his shoulder to start with. Oh, Captain Magenta, right. Not Captain Red. Not exciting like Captain Magenta. Everyone probably makes fun of him, except probably Captain Ochre probably wouldn't make fun of him. Captain Rasmus certainly wouldn't. So Captain Magenta has a lot to prove in this scene by keeping the one guy who can save the day out, because he hasn't got a colour. He's just a radiographer. Meanwhile, Dr. Magnus just keeps turning up the beats per minute like a rave from the late 90s. So has the general been killed? The operation sheets are pulled back to reveal Captain Scarlet has had his brain fried again. Sometimes Colonel White gets a bit cavalier with the whole Captain Scarlet thing, doesn't it? He could have stopped this operation before Captain Scarlet's brain was fried. It was pretty obvious. But no, we'll just let him fry Captain Scarlet's brain because with his retro-metabolism, everything will be fine again. He won't mind. So Dr. Magnus, being the victim of a spectrum suck-in with Captain Scarlet, then bolts out of the operating theatre, knocking Captain Magenta out of the way, probably making him the butt of a whole stack of other jokes. All right, you stopped the radiographer, but you couldn't stop a Mysteron, could you? Who do you think you are, Captain Red? Captain Blue gets the drop on Dr. Magnus in the generator room, although Captain Grey did also offer to come along with Captain Blue to the generator room, and there'd be two of them. And he went, no, it's best I go alone. Why not have two people there, two people with guns? Although maybe it's a good thing for Captain Grey, because, I mean, look what happened to the last person who went on a mission with Captain Blue. Not really naming any names there. Captain Blue throws a ladder against Dr. Magnus and he falls against the high voltage wires, and we have a very grisly electrocution there. The kids will love that. And at the debrief at the end, Captain Scarlet's sitting there. He's fine again, although he doesn't have any dialogue in this scene. I wonder after what's gone on with him, he's having the thing where the Homer Simpson, there's the monkey banging the cymbal together in his head. And that's all he can hear. We've learnt very important information from this about the Mysterons. They're impervious to X-rays, and high voltage currents will kill them just as much as it will a human. Important information in the episodes to come. And how's it going over there, Captain Scarlet, after the neurosurgery mishap thing? A super scary episode, particularly for those people who aren't good with hospitals. The script was by Richard Conway and Stephen J. Maddock, who had done earlier work on the show, but I think that was their first script that was filmed. It took about 2 weeks to shoot, but that was about how fast the show got made. Ken Turner's direction was great. Those spooky operation shots of the ceiling and that. I'm not sure I would have signed that consent form. Captain Aubergine, Maynard, Sydney, Spectrum, signing off. Stereotactic thalamotomy. I'll have 2 of them, thank you.
It's too late, Earthmen.
If you'd like to be a Spectrum agent in a future week, please visit ufocast.co.uk/captain to sign up for one of the remaining slots. So on to the things we're looking out for. Well, episode order. This is episode 6 in most of the orders that we have. In the DVD order, it is bumped a little bit further down the schedule by having White as Snow earlier and The Trap much earlier in the sequence for some reason. And the VHS, the weird, but I'm not going to bother keeping up with the VHS order because it's just nuts. It's very different from the other orders. Watching the Blu-ray order, this does feel, as much as you can watch a lot of Captain Scarlet in various orders, this does feel like it is progressing, that we are learning new things about the Mysterons each episode. And on new Mysteron powers, I'm going to say impervious to X-rays is a new power. Obviously, it's negative for them in the sense that it now allows Spectrum to detect them, but that is something new that we learn about the Mysterons. Mysteron's still at large. Again, Magnus gets fried. So no, but Captain Black, obviously, still at large. Is this a win or a loss? This is very much a win for Spectrum, because not only do they defeat the Mysterons' plot, they learn something new. And do look out on the website for Dr. Magnus in the Mysteron Puppet Gallery. Join me next week for another episode of the UFOcast as Captain Scarlet, where we'll be looking at Renegade Rocket. Did I reassess Renegade Rocket? Well, we'll find out next time.